Our leadership presentation is on Wells Fargo, and this is by Taylor McCarthy, Abigail Madrigal, Kyle Bloms, and Brendan Worley. To begin, Wells Fargo was founded on March 18th, 1852 by Henry Wells and William Fargo. The iconic image of the six-horse stagecoach filled with gold is commonly associated with the company Wells Fargo. The background behind this is that the stagecoach is what they use to transport gold as banking and express quickly and responsibly. Just as quickly, Wells Fargo was able to grow their brand and customer loyalty due to their trustworthiness and was later able to officially create their brand as a whole in the 1960s. Coincidentally, the gold rush of San Francisco was happening during the same time period that Wells Fargo was beginning to expand. This allowed them to expand in mining companies along the West Coast and also allowing them to build their trust with their customers even further. This same trustworthiness and customer loyalty is the foundation of who the company is today, as they carry on most of these same morals and integrity with the customers that they continue to have and grow with.
William Fargo, founder of Wells Fargo. Fargo began his career in the transportation business in 1841. In 1852, William Fargo founded Wells Fargo with his partner Henry Wells. Fargo held positions such as vice president of the New York Central Railroad and director of the Northern Pacific Railroad. Fargo was even elected mayor of Buffalo for 2 terms. William Fargo died in 1881. William Fargo as a leader. Fargo was pro-Union in the Civil War. While his employees were fighting in the North, Fargo paid their families stipends to help them get by. Fargo was rich and was someone the people could turn to for answers and help. Fargo was a good enough leader within Wells Fargo, but took on more leadership roles by taking on presidential positions and mayor of Buffalo. Centralia, North Dakota changed their town name to Fargo in appreciation to William Fargo bringing the railroad their direction. William Fargo is known for more than just the bank. Fargo is a man who promoted and brought ease. Without Fargo, Wells Fargo would not be where it is today.
John G. Stumpf. Previous and current titles: 1994, he was named the Regional President of Northwest Bank of Texas. May 2002, he was named Group EVP of the Community Banking. In June 2007, he became the CEO of Wells Fargo and its chairman in 2010. September 2016, he stepped down from chairman and CEO of Wells Fargo. How he became the CEO: he was born into a family filled with adversity. They were not a very wealthy family. They had 11 kids, and so they did the best they could. He didn't get good grades all throughout life, so he graduated high school and started working at a bakery. He worked hard from that bakery, so from the very bottom until things got better. So eventually he decided he wanted to go to college, and eventually he did go to college, and eventually he received a degree in business from the University of Minnesota. After working long and hard for Northwest Bank, after college he was given the job as CEO of Wells Fargo. Some of his positive leadership qualities. One of my favorite quotes that I found of his was, "I learned that early on as one of 11 kids in our family farm in Minnesota, the culture was to work hard, be a team player, and persist in the face of difficulty." Stumpf was always a hard worker, even when he was a kid, and that did not change until even after he stepped down as CEO and chairman. He worked on a dairy farm with 10 other siblings, and I'm sure that was a lot of hard work even at a young age, because I'm sure the family didn't hire people because they had so many kids, so he probably was working a full-time job. Stumpf created a culture of people that worked well together and liked being around each other. Almost a family-like environment is kind of what he was trying to do, because he wanted to be a team player, and that's kind of how he described himself, so that was his intention. And then Stumpf has had much adversity in his life, and even from birth with having 10 other siblings, but later in life too, when he had to turn his life around in order to become the CEO that he is well known for. He started from the very bottom and then eventually worked his way up, and that's kind of where that adversity comes from. Some of his negative leadership qualities: poor risk management. This was kind of what happened with all of Wells Fargo and kind of why it went downhill. The whole point of risk management is to eliminate and minimize risk, and Stumpf and the team that he created to do that did not do a very good job. They were very bad at they were good at recognizing the risk, but they were bad at assessing it, whether or not it was a good idea to do that, whatever it was. So they'd know the risk was there and they'd know the amount of risk, but they were bad at just taking those risks. Poor culture. So I talked about how he wanted to create like a really like a family culture, and although that's what he wanted, he didn't necessarily create that. He created a culture of people that were lazy and kind of didn't want to maintain the integrity of the business, and they kind of lied and cheated their way around things. So not the culture he ideally wanted to create, which was his fault based on his leadership. Failure to take responsibility as well. Stump made a lot of mistakes, but never helped to get those mistakes fixed by never owning up to his mistakes until it was too late. This also translated to the employees and the coworkers of Stump. With all the things that happened with Wells Fargo and Stump and all the employees and everything, Stump never actually owned up to it until years after he stepped down and was brought to court and everything, and eventually he was like, you know what, like, this was my fault, I'm sorry, and he kind of took responsibility, and then he got a lifetime ban. And so I think that a lot of that could have been avoided if he just admitted what he was doing or took responsibility for it. So maybe he was more prideful and didn't do some of the things. But yeah, that's kind of where that failure to take responsibility comes in.
Thank you, Brendan, for that information on John Stump. Moving on to our third and most current influential leader of Wells Fargo, Charles W. Scharf, or Charlie as he likes to be called. Charlie began his career on Wall Street, earning his first CEO gig at JP Morgan & Chase in 2004, where he served until 2012. From there, he took his talents west to San Francisco, where he took over as CEO for Visa Incorporated, serving until 2016. After Visa, he became the CEO of the Bank of New York Mellon for 2 years, from 2017 to 2019, finally leading us to Wells Fargo, where he has served as CEO since September of 2019. Charlie also has some experience outside of the corporate world, where he was appointed to the President's Advisory Council by President Barack Obama to serve on financial capability for young Americans. He is also on the Executive Council for University of California, San Francisco Health, and the Board of Directors for Microsoft Corporation. Slide change. As stated in his bio on wellsfargo.com, during his tenure at Bank of New York Mellon, Charlie demonstrated a strong track record in initiating and leading change, driving results, strengthening operational risk and compliance, and innovating amid a rapidly evolving digital landscape. He was also influential in transforming Visa into a technology-driven commerce company, and is regarded as the best CEO of Bank of New York Mellon since President Alexander Hamilton, according to thefinancialbrand.com. Slide change. Like I said earlier, Charlie made his name on Wall Street. This is where he developed a few key leadership styles. For example, he put his family over business. He resigned as CEO of Visa because he could no longer spend time in San Francisco away from his family in New York City. I love my job, but my family defines me first, not my job, he said in an interview with David Novak. During his tenure as CEO of Visa, the total shareholder return increased 130%. His management style is reserved, yet hands-on, inclusive, and intensive. Scharf is well known within JP Morgan as a methodical, decisive, and sometimes prickly executive who doesn't like loads of bureaucracy, the Wall Street Journal reports. At the same time, he is also known as being somewhat shy and more comfortable addressing people in small groups rather than large audiences. Slide change. Charlie loves an open environment. At Bank of New York Mellon, Scharf shook up the formal culture, eliminating traditional executive offices that had walls and doors, his own included. I learned a long time ago that you're just far better off if you want to move a large group of people forward by winning their hearts and their minds and making them part of the process to get there, than just by telling people you have to do something, he continued in his interview with David Novak. His self-motto is, change or you'll be irrelevant. And his greatest management lesson, to be able to reinvent yourself to get that fresh perspective, is something that all leaders and businesses could benefit from.